It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you again for joining into another edition of the Falco Takeaway. I got two very special guests with me. I got the takes on tap. Guys, what's going on? Thanks for coming on. First topic, obviously a very emotional topic. Remembering Kobe Bryant. A year ago today, Kobe Bryant and Gianna Bryant passed in a tragedy of a helicopter crash. So I just want to get both your thoughts on what Kobe meant to you and what this really means for our society, like losing just an icon and a superstar on and off the court, just as a legend and just a tragedy. What are your thoughts on Kobe?
So what he did for the game is unmatched compared to. There's not many athletes in all sports that have been able to do what he's been able to do through his career, after his career, and what he's been able to bring to the game. It's an incredible loss that we've had. I mean, it's such a sad loss because Kobe was kind of the guy that we looked to as the successor to Michael Jordan. He was kind of the guy that came right after who's going to really push basketball to its limits.
Yeah, just to add on to that, Kobe was just so much more than a basketball player. He was like a mogul to my society, my generation, man. Like, even growing up in school, everyone knew who Kobe Bryant was. Even the girls who didn't even know what basketball was, they even knew who Kobe Bryant was. The shoes, the swag, his covers on video games. He was everything, man. I mean, what's the one thing that people say when you take a shot to the garbage can? Kobe, right? That's a forever thing. He's so much more than a basketball player, and that's why he means so much to everyone, man. Like, it's just it was an unfortunate passing, and he's missed every day.
So for me, it was, when it happened, he died. He was age 42. I was actually age 42, and I have a daughter as well. So it meant a lot to me in that sense. And you saw a lot of things that we didn't see, before he died about him being a father, him being off the court with his daughter and the other things that he was doing. Everyone kind of questioned when he retired, he was so competitive. And you see a lot of times when these guys are so competitive, they just can't let go of the game. But he seemed to like embrace that, and kind of put that competitive spirit into his daughter. Sad that the whole thing happened, obviously. And like these guys mentioned, I mean, he was bigger than basketball. I mean, he was global. He was a global icon, and he's kind of the last of a dying breed in the NBA where, it's now everyone's all friends. Everyone wants to be friends. They want to play with each other. Kobe Bryant was that killer instinct. He wanted to beat whoever was in front of him at any given time. He had that Jordan mentality where he wanted to beat anybody. He didn't want to join up with the other big star and be, sort of a tandem. He wanted to do it, his way, and he wanted to do it the right way. And to me, that kind of goes back to the old NBA when, people just didn't like each other. Nowadays, in the social media, climate, these guys are all friends. You see them outside the court hanging out. And Kobe wasn't one of those kind of guys. He was very, very old school in that way.
I mean, it's tough. It's real tough. It still just feels like his presence are with us. It still feels a little surreal. It doesn't feel it just doesn't feel like he's gone. I mean, he's been a guy I'm 21 years old now. He's a guy I watched growing up, of course, and he's an icon. He is a legend on and off the court. He's been an idol for so many basketball players. People could say they played basketball because of Kobe Bryant. That was just a guy they looked up to. The killer mentality. The always wanting the moment, wanting the shot late in the game. He always had that killer instinct. He was just so competitive. And people loved that killer instinct, that Mamba mentality that he had. And not only him, but just the fact that his daughter had to go down with him and everyone who was on that helicopter. I mean, it just goes to show that you can't take, there's no guarantees in life. Nothing's guaranteed. At any given moment, you don't know when your last breath is going to be, when your last meal is going to be. That's just why every single day you need to appreciate life, appreciate your loved ones, because at the end of the day, we never know when our last one is. And I mean, to the Bryant family, rest in peace. Our prayers, condolences are definitely with you guys. I just want to touch on that real quick before we get started. But let's switch gears a little bit to the NFL. We finally have our Super Bowl matchup, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I wanted to start with saying, how impressive is this for Tom Brady making his 10th Super Bowl this late in his career without Bill Belichick, without the New England Patriots, an entirely new system with no OTAs, no training camp, no preseason, and he led this Buccaneers team to the Super Bowl. How impressive is that?
Tom Brady, it just proves it to everyone. He's undeniably now, no argument at all. He is the best quarterback to ever play in the NFL. You can't say it was Peyton Manning. You can't say it was Joe Montana. Can't say it was anyone else. All those other guys are great quarterbacks. But Tom Brady is different, man. 10 Super Bowls. That's crazy. And again, how crazy is it that the first home team to play a Super Bowl in their own home stadium has Tom Brady at the quarterback position, right? I mean, you can officially say that Tom Brady has done it all. I mean, come on, man. He's just – the way he led that team, it's just something different, man, because they have so much talent, but we saw them struggle. We saw them get blown out by the New Orleans Saints on Sunday Night Football at home. What was it, 50-something to 3?
38-3, yeah.
38-3.
It was a massacre. It wasn't even close.
It just proves, man, Tom Brady is just the best at everything.
I mean, even when he struggles, we saw him throw 3 picks all in the second half. Even when he struggles, he still has that ability to be able to push his team to the next level. And that's really the difference when we're talking about the argument between Brady and Belichick. Belichick and Brady, we were kind of talking about in the offseason, who was really more important to that New England Patriots team. And it's clear now that Tom Brady made that dynasty what it was. Because without Tom Brady, that New England Patriots teams, they wouldn't have won 6 Super Bowls. And Brady wouldn't have went to 10 if it wasn't for how good he was.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to argue any of those points there. I mean, he is, obviously the greatest ever. 10 Super Bowls is a ridiculous amount of Super Bowls to go to, more than anybody by far. The only thing I will do to kind of tear him down just a little bit is he has struggled in the playoffs. I mean, his team is playing very well, and his leadership is what's coming through. Because even though he struggled, because I looked up a stat. So after that touchdown that the Packers kind of gifted them in the third quarter after the fumble, Brady went 6 for 13 for 70 yards and 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. So, it was his leadership, though, that he instilled in those players around him that can kind of rally to bring this game to them. The defense has stepped up. They stopped the Packers on 3 straight times when they, turned the ball over. Packers didn't score at all on any of those turnovers. So the defense stepped up. And I think Tom Brady is there. He's kind of like Peyton Manning was at the end of his career, where he was there just to not lose the game. If they need to go out there and win a game, I don't know if Tom Brady's going to be able to do that or not. But the defense that they have, with the offensive weapons that they have between Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Gronkowski's there, and he's still doing his thing, and Rojo and Leonard Fournette in the backfield, he can just go out there and do his thing and stay within himself, and they can still win games that way.
Yeah, a few things to that. I mean, it's impressive that Tom Brady's now in his 10th Super Bowl. I mean, he's proved a lot this year. He's exceeded expectations, of course. In age 43, like I already addressed, he's not with Bill Belichick anymore, so he killed the narrative that he was a system quarterback, that he could only play with one team. So he officially ended that argument, especially this late in his career. Very impressive. He threw for 43 touchdowns at age 43, threw for over 4,600 yards. Had a decent playoff run. I mean, he outplayed Drew Brees. But, I mean, it's impressive just the longevity that he's sustained, and that he can still play at this level at age 43 and now doing it with a new team and in the NFC. So I will give him his credit for that, and especially that he's going for the 7th ring, which would pass Michael Jordan in terms of individuals winning championships. But I got to call a spade here. Tom Brady did not outplay Aaron Rodgers on Sunday. He did not. If we're going to call a spade and we're going to be realistic, just because the Buccaneers beat the Packers does not mean he outplayed Aaron Rodgers, because he didn't whatsoever. Brady was really special in the first half. That may have been one of the best first halves I've ever seen him play. The second half, I don't know how else to say it, he sucked. Like, he was god-awful. Terrible. He 6 of 13, 70 yards, 3 interceptions. The interceptions were brutal. A time where they could have put the game away was that pass to Mike Evans that got tipped because he threw it way too high and it got tipped and picked off. Right then and there, they could have put the game away. But that was an awful throw to a wide open receiver. The other interception he threw, where he's going off his back foot, felt the pressure and just launched it up. Brutal interception. Brady did not play well. But the thing with Rodgers had a good game. He did not have a great game. He did not have a game up to his caliber that he had the entire season of going to win MVP. 48 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, leading the league in passer rating and QBR. The thing with Rodgers, he played well, but he had opportunities late in the game to deliver, and he didn't. I think the 2-point conversion really killed him that was dropped. That one killed them. But there were still moments in the fourth quarter Rodgers could have been better. But just because Rodgers could have been better doesn't mean Brady was so much better, because he wasn't. Brady did not play well. His team is playing lights out. A big thing that changed the dynamic in the game is the pressure the Buccaneers put on Aaron Rodgers. They sacked him 5 times, and when you are putting pressure on any quarterback in this league, they're not going to be as effective as they usually are when they have time in the pocket. Rodgers did not have a lot of time all day long, and he still managed to have a good game. But Brady was not special. And I think there's 2 plays that really changed the dynamic of this game. The one before halftime, the last play before halftime, Buccaneers are up 14-10 of the ball, I believe, at the 40-ish yard line, if I remember correctly. As a defense, your job is to play prevent. You stand in the end zone. You do not let anybody get behind you. That's what you're taught, and you move forward as the ball goes up in the air and you bat it down. There you go. That's an incomplete pass. And what did the Packers DBs do? You let a receiver get behind you. Boom, touchdown, 21-10. How about open up in the third quarter? Rodgers throws a little dump pass to Aaron Jones, gets blasted, fumble. Buccaneers get the ball inside the 10, one play, touchdown, you're up 28-10. Those two plays change the dynamic of the game. And again, it wasn't necessarily Tom Brady's greatness. Sure, he capitalized on those situations, but let's not act like he had some heroic playoff run that he's ever had in his, like some heroic playoff run that nobody saw coming. He was good. It's impressive that he's just doing it this long, but I'm not overly impressed by the Buccaneers winning, that it's like it's all him. Like, people are trying to make the narrative that, oh, Brady could just go to any team and say, oh, I want to take this team to the Super Bowl and do it. It's not that black and white. Stop. He played well, but it stops. It stops there.
I wanted to add some two things that you said there. You know, the one with the play before the halftime. You know, yes, it was a bad play. The guy should have not gotten let him behind him, but also it was a bad play call. They went single high safety. That's just a bad call. You know, you have two guys back there to cover that deep ball, because you go single high safety, you were man to man with somebody. You know, maybe they were double teaming Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, but they left Scotty Miller wide open one-on-one. So that was a bad defensive call right there. And then the other situation with the, you know, coming down at the end, everyone's talking about the fourth, you know, going for it on fourth down. Rodgers made a bad choice on third down. He should have ran that ball. I mean, he may not have scored, but he would have gotten 3, 4, 5 yards, and then maybe they do go for it on fourth down at that point. But the fact that he threw an incomplete pass, they were still kind of far away from the end zone. If he had gotten 4 or 5 yards, you know, then they probably would have gone for it. It'd have been a whole different story. So that was my thought on those two plays.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about that second half of the game, especially in the fourth quarter, after Brady's last 3 interceptions, the Green Bay Packers, they went 3 and out and 3 and out. Not effective on offense whatsoever. The Buccaneers did a great job up front, applying pressure. The Packers couldn't run the ball, especially up the middle. They had a couple good runs to the outside, but other than that, they could not run the football, so Rodgers did have to throw it a good amount. But as you saw, as the second half went along, Rodgers was just trying to force it to Davante Adams. And we saw that, just like you said, on that third down play in the end zone, tried to force that to the inside to Davante Adams instead of taking that rush. Who knows if it would have gotten the end zone? We don't know. At least you could have picked up 5-6 yards and would have had a very manageable down, at least to the point where you could say, we're going to go for this. We have a really good chance of going for it. And instead, it's fourth and goal at the 8-yard line. Then there's really the question, okay, you kick the field goal, you don't kick the field goal, that's up in the air. But Rodgers was trying to definitely force it to his receivers, especially to Davante Adams. And that was really his undoing right there. So the second half was not good in terms of quarterback play on either side of the ball. However, I do agree, Rodgers did outplay Brady there. And the real MVP of this game was the Bucs defense, especially the front seven. Yeah, and just to add to that, I have to question Matt LaFleur for a minute here. Continuously, the Packers' run game was abysmal. It wasn't there. Every time they ran the ball up the middle, the Buccaneers' offensive line stopped them continuously, and they kept running the ball up the middle. There were 2 times in the game where they tossed it and pitched it out wide. Those 2 times, they converted to first down. I'm wondering, if it works twice, why not try it more and more? But they kept running up the middle, and same thing like you said, Aaron Rodgers would continuously force it to Davante Adams, especially in the red zone territory as well. He had Allen Lazard open at one point. I believe it was in the third quarter, right? So I'm just wondering, if you know the Buccaneers defensive line is so strong, why do you keep shooting yourself in the foot? It kept happening.
I'm wondering if it has to do with the Aaron Jones injury. You know, how much did that affect their running game? Because, I mean, Jamal Williams is a great complementary piece. He's not a lead running back. He's a great in pass protection. He's great in the passing game, but he's not a game breaker like Aaron Jones is. And when he went out of that game, the Bucs just basically said, you know what? We're just going to drop back in pass coverage. We're going to double team Davante Adams, let Jamal Williams beat us, and he couldn't. I think that had to do a lot with the running game.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of problems that the Packers had, but I feel like this is more of the Packers beat themselves. But I just think, like, you see over the media, over social media, everyone just hyping up Brady, Brady, Brady. He's doing it by himself, this and that. Sure, I will definitely agree now that he was more responsible for the dynasty, and he literally proved it, that it wasn't Belichick after the Patriots had an awful season. Cam Newton was a disaster. That offense really just had nothing. But I mean, the Buccaneers are loaded. The Buccaneers are loaded. Like, let's call it the way it is. I mean, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin are 2 all-pro wide receivers. You have a great offensive line, a great offensive play core in Bruce Arians. You got a decent run game, and the defense is phenomenal. The defense has played well all year. They had a little stretch in November where I thought they were really going downhill. But besides November, I mean, the Buccaneers defense has been top 5 in the league, and I think they still finished top 5 in the league. So let's not pretend that Brady did this by himself, this and that. You had a cakewalk with going against Washington, against a backup quarterback. They never really stood a chance. Drew Brees dealing with injuries. I was never a believer in the Saints. They just had too many letdowns in the past to believe it. And hey, the Buccaneers had a good win on Sunday. I will give them that. But to act like Brady was so special, this is not one of his heroic comebacks like it was against the Atlanta Falcons. Like, the Buccaneers had Brady put them in position late in that game to lose. He did. He put them in position many times to lose that game, but the defense bailed them out, which we've seen that movie plenty of times before. So all in all, stop overhyping Brady's performance. He was good in the first half. He was god-awful in the second half. And let's stop acting like he carries teams to Super Bowls, because he does not do it by himself, which people try to make that assumption. And it's utterly ridiculous if you ask me. So with that being said, congratulations to the Buccaneers and Tom Brady. But we have to actually dissect what happened, not just give all the credit to the quarterback. I'll switch gears a little bit to I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers in that press conference said that he doesn't know what his future holds. Are you really gonna buy that Rodgers is gonna leave? But overall, what's next for Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I'll tell you what's next. He's gonna start next season in Green Bay. He's not going anywhere. He's not. Green Bay's his home. He loves it there, even though sometimes he wants to act like a prima donna. He's not going anywhere. All right. I think that right now there's kind of a chip on the shoulder here for the Packers. Matt LaFleur, in 2 years, he's gone to the NFC Championship twice. He's lost twice. All right. Right now, the goal is to get over that hump, especially for Aaron Rodgers as well. Think about this right now. Rex Grossman has the same number of NFC Championship wins as Aaron Rodgers does. If he thinks about that, that's got to really, really bother him. You know,
yeah.
Especially if I'm Aaron Rodgers. I don't want to leave and go somewhere else. I want to stay where I'm at in the green and yellow and get over the hump and finally win my second Super Bowl trophy. He's not going anywhere because guess what? Jordan Loving is not the answer. I don't know why they drafted that guy. Maybe it was to motivate Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it seemed to work, but he's not going anywhere.
And we look at Rodgers, one of the greatest regular season quarterbacks of all time, and you can kind of compare him to Peyton Manning in terms of postseason success, having to deal with Tom Brady. And I'm sure Rodgers is really trying to get back to that Super Bowl because that's the one thing that's holding him back from everyone really saying that he's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. We say Aaron Rodgers is really talented, but he's one of the greatest arm talents, but he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, but he just doesn't have the postseason success. So for Aaron, that's got to sting. Every single year he gets so close. We talk about 2014 NFC Championship to Seattle. They blew that lead. Last year against San Francisco wasn't competitive, and now this year they just collapsed in the second half against Tampa Bay, although they did put up a good fight. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I got to say, hey, I'm not retiring until I get to the Super Bowl. Whatever happens, but it's going to be in Green Bay. He'll be suiting up next year, and it's no worries about that.
But also, I will say, I will hold the team more accountable next year because you got to draft more receivers, got to draft some more defensive guys, maybe clear some cap space, cut Preston Smith or something like that. You can't have what you had in last year's draft. I thought it was amazing that the Packers still won all those games with such a bad draft.
Yeah, so, it was not a good draft at all. So if I'm Aaron Rodgers, you say, hey, look, guys, I only got a few years left. You're kind of screwing me over here. Let's get this together.
So I'm going to disagree a little bit. First, I'm going to say that I think Rodgers is a Packer next year. I did see something on PFT from Mike Florio saying that he wanted a new contract, which if that's the case, that's going to be interesting over the summer and how they pull that off. And then the thing with Jordan Love, I agree 100% that it was not a smart decision. But at the same time, if 2 years from now, if Jordan Love is the starting quarterback for the Packers and is playing well, we'll look back on this and think, okay, it was not a bad decision because they still went 13-3. They still made the NFC Championship game. They're right where they were last year at this time, and they got Jordan Love without a receiver. Now they can go to this draft to get a receiver. They still got Jordan Love under contract. If they can keep Rodgers, under contract within a couple of years as well, still continue to be good, and then do what they did with Favre and Rodgers. You put Love in after 3 years, maybe he is as good as I think he is, and the Packers continue another decade of dominance. And if that happens, we'll look back at this and go, oh, you know what? That was a smart decision. The Packers are far and away smarter than the rest of us because we all thought it was a dumb decision. Not saying that will happen, but it definitely could happen. But as far as the contract thing with Aaron Rodgers, I'm assuming he's probably going to go for more guaranteed money if he does want a new contract. I can imagine he's going to extend it for more years than he already has. I think he's under contract now through 2023. So my guess is he's probably going to want more of that front-loaded money, which could change the salary cap a little bit. So I don't know how they're going to go about fitting in Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams if that's the case. They both may end up walking in free agency, and then we got A.J. Dillon as a rookie contract right now. He could be the next running back next year.
The thing with Aaron Rodgers leaving, I can't see a scenario he's going to leave. I think he said that because he's just very high on emotions right now. I think he's a little pissed off with some play calling and some executions by his teammates throughout that game, which is a reason why he could feel like that at the moment. But I don't think there's just such a high asking price if you're going to trade for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I can't imagine what a team has to offer to get Aaron Rodgers. Plus, you have to pay him that contract, which I believe he's getting over $35 million right now. So with that being said, I think he will be starting for the Green Bay Packers next year. Here's the thing. This was a little bit of a legacy stain. It has to be. He had opportunities to deliver, and he didn't. Like, he could have been better late down the stretch, and he wouldn't. This now, you have the Seattle NFC Championship loss. You have last year against the 49ers, which the 49ers were clearly the better team. But this year, there was no excuses. The proof is in the pudding. You have the best receiver in the league. You got a great offensive play caller. You were better than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You had the number one seed, home field advantage throughout the NFC playoffs. I mean, how much more could you ask for? It was right there for him, and he didn't get it done. So I just believe this was an opportunity for a guy who's been regarded as a top two talent, from a talent perspective, top two in the history of football. If you're going to ask me, probably behind Patrick Mahomes. And he's had too many playoff letdowns. He has. A guy of that caliber, his team should be more successful. Like you have to look at it like that. His team, I'm not a believer that you give all the credit to the quarterbacks when they win Super Bowls, win or loss. I just think a player of Rodgers' caliber, they should be better. And honestly, I don't think they're ever going to recover from this. I don't. I believe when you have heartbreaking losses in sports and emotional losses, I just feel like that franchise will never recover. A few instances I could refer back to on the Cleveland Indians in baseball in 2016, they blew a 3-1 lead. And then in 2017, they were in the ALDS, we're up 2-0. What have the Indians done since then? Nothing. The Atlanta Falcons were up 28-3 in the Super Bowl late in the third quarter. We all know that story. Matt Ryan won the MVP. The Falcons were 15-1. Where have the Falcons been ever since then? There's been many, many occasions. And another team, how am I forgetting this? The Philadelphia Eagles haven't been back ever since Nick Foles took them to the divisional round. The Eagles really haven't been relevant. And I'm thinking of one other team. Oh, the New Orleans Saints. The Saints had 4 brutal losses in the playoffs. And it all started with the Stephon Diggs miracle. Once that happened, they never recovered. Then you have the pass interference play. Then he gets outplayed by Kirk Cousins. Then he gets outplayed by Tom Brady. Now it looks like Drew Brees got to retire. I'm scared that this is the same thing for Aaron Rodgers. This was an emotional loss, back-to-back NFC Championship games, and after that, I don't think they have much of a future. Sure, they could get to the playoffs. Sure, Rodgers could have a few decent years left, but in terms of winning championships, I think his championship window closed. And another team I didn't even remember. I mean, this doesn't really compare. But the New York Jets in 2009, 2010, back-to-back AFC Championship games, have not seen them since. So, I mean, haven't made the playoffs since, rather. So, I mean, looking at that, when you just have emotional losses, it's really hard to recover, and you're always going to have hangovers, and I think that's the same thing for the Packers, honestly. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll add one more to that list. I was pointing to my hat here. I don't know if you could see it or not, but it's the 49ers. You know, we had that Kaepernick year where we came down, 3 yards to the end zone, and then, 2 years later, no one that's even on that team is even there anymore. The coach is gone. The GM was fired. So on and so forth. We fell apart after that. And then even last year, I mean, we had it in the fourth quarter. We had it in the bag. We lost that game. Now, granted, we had a ton of injuries this year, but going into this season here, there's questions around our quarterback. Is Jimmy G going to be our quarterback next year? There's all kinds of trade rumors with Deshaun Watson. Those are things that if we win that game last year, we're not talking about right now, but we are because we lost, last year. So that's a perfect example of that same situation you just mentioned.
Seattle Seahawks, right? The 1 yard line. Cannot forget about that one. Can't forget about that one as well. But I will say, to maybe look at the half glass full side of things. When the New York Jets beat the Patriots in the divisional round all those years ago, I'm a Jets fan, right? Patriots seem to recover, right? I mean, you could say that was kind of an emotional loss for Tom Brady and the Pats.
Divisional rival, yeah.
It's a rivalry.
When it's the Patriots and Brady losing, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
It's more of a fluke than a heartbreaking loss, if we're going to be real.
True, but if you want to look at the bright side of things, I think Aaron Rodgers could recover. Like, the team is talented for a reason. Like, what makes a great athlete is a great mindset. If Aaron Rodgers has a great mindset, I can't answer that, because some days he's a playboy and other days he's like Mr. All-Star. So it really depends on what side of the bed he wakes up on. But I really do think he can recover and come back from it. I have faith in Aaron Rodgers. I have faith in Matt LaFleur. 2 years, 2 straight championships. You got to get over the hump sometime. I do think they can recover.
Yeah, I mean, I think about teams, the teams that we've been naming. It's so tough to get over the hump, to get to a championship game, to get to a Super Bowl, especially in consecutive years. The fact that we're talking about the Packers, maybe they won't be back next year. Maybe this is a comparable situation to the other teams that we named. That's, to me, I have to disagree with that. The Packers just got the 2 NFC. It's so hard to get the 2 NFC championships in a row. If we look at the 49ers, all it took was a couple injuries to their players, and they couldn't even make the playoffs. A team that just went to the Super Bowl, that had the best defense in football, and had a good enough offense and run game to get them to the Super Bowl and almost beat the Kansas City Chiefs, who we're looking at as the next NFL dynasty. So I think we just need to slow roll in the Packers. The game just ended. I know that there's a lot of things here that we could speculate about. Maybe the Packers are done, maybe they're not. But this team is really talented. If they don't even make it to a championship game next year, that's going to hurt Rodgers' legacy. But for me, it's not going to be a stain for me. For Rodgers, if he gets to another Super Bowl, that's cool. But it's so difficult to be able to get to a Super Bowl that I'm totally okay with Aaron Rodgers ending with 1 Super Bowl, because I think he's had a good enough career to call him as one of the better quarterbacks that we've ever seen.
Yeah, he still have one more than Dan Marino too. So
okay, that's true. Yeah,
you prove the point though that it's so hard to get back to go to 2 NFC championship games. So why am I to believe they were going to get to a third? It's an emotional loss and it carries over. That's why all those teams we named haven't ever got back there, because it's an emotional loss. And the Atlanta Falcons were still a great team in 2017, I think it was. It's still the same team that they had when they went to the Super Bowl. Then what happened? You see that with the Legion of Boom in 2014. It's an emotional loss. You just don't ever recover, because it's so hard to get to that spot to begin with. And then to try to get there a third time and then actually win that game, I'm not betting for it. I've been saying throughout the playoffs, I've been on the Buccaneers train that they will make the Super Bowl since October. If you don't believe me, you can scroll through my profile, and I made that take in, I think, October. But with that being said, I just felt like the Packers, year after year, every time we think that they're going to make it, they just don't. Something will happen along the way. And Rodgers is a guy who's a borderline Mount Rushmore type quarterback in the history of football. Some may say John Elway has that final spot. I think it's pretty safe to say that the top 3 spots are Brady, Montana, Manning. Those are the top 3 spots. And that 4th spot, a few names that could be in that mix. Rodgers is one of them. John Elway is one of them. Johnny Unitas is one of them. Another Super Bowl appearance, and especially a win, would solidify Rodgers to get that spot. And with this year, that there was no team better than them. There was no team in the NFC better than the Green Bay Packers. He was the best quarterback in the league with 48 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, winning league MVP, had the best receiver in the league, home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Like, he couldn't have been set up more. And overall, he did fail. Even though he had a good game, good is not good enough. You need to be great. You need to be heroic. You need to be historic to be a guy you want to consider a Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks. That's just why I don't believe that we could just let this slide or ignore it.
What makes this emotional, right? Because you look at the Atlanta Falcons, right? They blew a 28-3 lead. You look at the Cleveland Indians. They had a 3-1 lead, right? Next year, 2-0 in the division series, right? San Francisco, they had the lead in the 4th quarter. With Green Bay, yes, they lost the game, but there wasn't really a play that defines like, oh, man, we had it in the bag, because Green Bay never really did have it in the bag. The Buccaneers were just kind of just leading the whole time. Green Bay was kind of playing comeback, right? Seattle, they gave it up at the 1 yard line. They had the chance to win. I can't really find the play that like makes it gut-wrenching. Yes, you lost, but you were still playing comeback. New Orleans, Minnesota Miracle, bad PI call. Can't really find the same here with the Packers game.
Yeah, I mean,
but just because it was in the 4th quarter doesn't mean there were still 2 similar type plays. I already addressed those 2 plays. The one before halftime, that was a killer, and then coming out of halftime, the fumble. That was 14 points right there. That was literally the game. It just wasn't necessarily late in the fourth quarter like we see with Seattle or Atlanta blowing the league or other games that you mentioned. It just happened in that time. Then, yes, they were playing catch-up. But again, they still had opportunities late in that game. People are questioning if Rodgers should have ran the ball on third down, make it a 4th and 4 from the 4-yard line. Then you could go for it and tie the game right then and there. So it's still an emotional loss because you had Super Bowl aspirations. More when you're an underdog trying to, I wouldn't say the Browns had an emotional loss going against the Kansas City Chiefs in the division round because they exceeded expectations already. If the Buccaneers lost, that wouldn't have been an emotional loss because they didn't have expectations to win. The Buccaneers getting to the NFC Championship game under Tom Brady, and for Tom Brady's sake, that's exceeding expectations. The Packers failed. If the Buccaneers failed, if the Buccaneers lost, I wouldn't call that a failure because of their expectations. Players and fans and their teammates do think about these things, that when you have expectations, there's a certain amount of pressure on you. So that's why I do think this is a big deal for Rodgers and for the Packers.
Well, let me chime in here. So I'm going to give you 2 examples where the precedent is set, where they have gotten over that emotional sort of thing. And one of them is my team, the 49ers. We went to 3 straight championship games back. We had Kaepernick and Alex Smith, combination of the two. And we had a couple heartbreaking. I mean, we had the one with the punt that was muffed. They recovered it. They ended up beating us. We came back the next year, went to Super Bowl, ended up losing in Super Bowl. The other precedent that's been set is with the Packers themselves. I mean, they were in this spot exactly last year, lost that game, and then they've since recovered and come back and had an even better year, ended up in the same spot as they did last year. So to completely write them off, I wouldn't do that. I will say it will be very, very tough. I think the NFC is got a lot of great teams, so it's going to be very hard to, go 13-3 again next year, get home field advantage again next year, and get back to the same game. But I don't think we can write them off completely and just say, no, they're not going to make it because of this emotional game. I think that they still have the talent to do it. I think first and foremost, get Aaron Rodgers happy, whatever it takes, draft a receiver, whatever it takes, sign Aaron Jones if they have to sign him, whatever it takes to get him happy and have him have another career year next year to get back to this game once again.
Yeah, I'll switch gears a little bit, though. Let's go to the AFC. And I want to start with the Bills first. I mean, the Bills had a little Cinderella story, I would say. 13-3, won the AFC East for the first time since 1400 BC or whatever the hell. Brady didn't play for the Patriots. And then look at them now. AFC Championship game, they ran into the wrong team. But for the question I have right now, will the Bills be back as AFC contenders? Will they ever reach a Super Bowl in years down the road? Or was this just a little Cinderella story like we saw maybe with the Titans last year?
I'm going to have to say that they are going to be back. If we look at how they've progressed over the last couple of years, especially in the case of Josh Allen, he's been getting better every single year he's been in the league. They keep getting talent. Their team is young as well. Stephon Diggs is really the only guy on that team with real playoff experience on the offensive side of the ball. The running backs are young, Singletary, Zach Moss. I mean, they have a young team that's hungry, that's going to get better. And so to say that the Bills are going to be back as AFC title contenders, I'm going to say yes. I don't see a lot of teams that were as well-rounded as Buffalo was going down the stretch. Besides for Kansas City and Baltimore towards the end of the season, those are really the only 2 teams that I can see as a contender for Buffalo moving forward. But I think they're definitely going to be back.
Well, I'm going to go with no here, but it's nothing against Buffalo. They are a fantastic team, really great team. But there's just so many other great teams in the AFC, right? And, look, right now it's the Chiefs and everybody else. And to me, Buffalo is on the same level as everybody else because they couldn't really keep it that competitive against Kansas City. One team that I have my eye on, though, Grant saying that they get the right guy at the quarterback position, the Colts. I think the Colts have a real chance to be the Buffalo Bills of next year because in round 1, they had the game and it came down to a field goal.
Philip Rivers just retired, by the way.
Philip Rivers just retired. 100% right, but they grab a Matthew Stafford. They grab somebody else. They could be in that same spot. They're still a great team. They got a great coach. And, the Browns are still, up and rising. The Ravens, right? They could turn it around next year. Again, right now it's the Chiefs and everybody else. And until Buffalo really puts up a great fight against Kansas City, they do play next year, right? In the regular season. Right now, Buffalo is just with everybody else right now.
I think what they need to do is first and foremost is fix that run game. I know they got Singletary and they got Moss. And you look at their total numbers from that game. They had 18 rushes, 129 yards, average 7.2 yards per carry. Josh Allen had 7 of those carries for 88 yards, and he averaged 12.6. The running backs were 11 for 41, 0 touchdowns. They have to be able to run the ball. They can't put – I mean, Josh Allen was great this year, MVP candidate. If it wasn't for Rodgers, it probably would have been Josh Allen. But they got to run the ball. And the Chiefs' weakness was against the run, and they couldn't run the ball against the Chiefs. So they got to figure out a way, whether it's scheme, whether it's, if Moss isn't the guy, if Singletary isn't the guy, they got to find someone to get that run game, because that's the way you beat the Chiefs is you run the ball. I think we saw it with my team when we were winning that game last year in Super Bowl. We were running the ball, playing good defense. That's how you beat the Chiefs. And that's how you win right now in the playoffs. I know it's all about the passing game. That's what everybody's all excited about. But you can't run the ball. You can't win in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I would say yes, they will be back. But I'm also going to say no. And I'm honestly leaning towards the no side. First of all, it's the Chiefs and everybody else. Wake me up when they beat the Chiefs. Wake me up when they're going to make a competitive game out of it, because they're not. Mahomes and that Chiefs team are just so much better than everybody else. Sure, the Bills are the second best team in the AFC right now, but any other team that made the playoffs has the potential to knock them off. Sure, do I think they're going to run the AFC East? Definitely. The Patriots aren't going to be any much better. The Dolphins, they had a little Cinderella story going, 10-6 or whatever, or 11-5. I think 10-6 they went. I mean, sure, the Jets are god-awful. Sure, the Bills will run the AFC East, but they're just going to be a middle-of-the-pack AFC playoff team where on any given Sunday, any of these teams could lose. The Browns could beat them. I wouldn't say the Ravens could beat them. I want to see what the Colts do at the quarterback position. I mean, there's just other teams that are just as good as them. They have to figure out the run game. I think their defense needs to be more consistent. Josh Allen, let's see if he can take another leap forward. But I think there's just a better chance that they don't get back to the AFC Championship game than them actually making a Super Bowl. Because I just don't see what team in the AFC could really beat the Chiefs. I don't. Like, they are just so much better than everybody else. Sure, I'll give the Buccaneers a much better chance, which we'll touch on later in the show, that could beat the Chiefs. I would have said the Packers have a decent shot. But, I mean, for any team in the AFC, like, it was like they had ugly wins, and then people were just so used to the Chiefs winning. They're like, oh, they're not blowing teams out, so let's panic. Like, I just remember throughout the end of the regular season, people in the media, people on TV, all over social media, like, freaking out that the Chiefs' wins were, quote-unquote, ugly wins. But, I mean, once upon a time, Al Davis just said, just win, baby. I mean, they kept winning. The divisional round was an ugly win. And then Mahomes put the little kids to bed like they expected to. The Bills had a cute Cinderella story. But, I mean, every other team in the AFC is going to be shooting for that, beating the Kansas City Chiefs, so I don't think any of them can. But, I mean, they're just like everyone else. The Titans are in that mix. I thought the Titans were going to make it further than they did. That was a really disappointing loss that they had. Again, like I said before, the Browns, the Colts, we'll see what other teams could do. But am I going to say that the Bills could beat the Chiefs next year or they're going to have Super Bowls? Maybe. But as of right now, I don't think so. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, man. I definitely agree there, right? Like, again, Chiefs, everyone else, Buffalo definitely has to fix the running game, as Jeff said, I believe, right? And again, the Browns still up and coming, and I actually do think Baltimore can beat Buffalo. You know, that game was a little close, you know, toward the first half of that game, right? It was low scoring as well. Lamar Jackson didn't really do anything as well, but yeah, I'm gonna go for a no on the Buffalo thing here. Just, you know, show me something else again. Yeah, show me something else.
If we're talking about just contenders, if they're going to be contenders, I think they can be contenders. Can they win it all? That's yet to be seen. They still got to surpass the Chiefs. But the Chiefs, in order to be what we say they're going to be, have to do something that's never been done before, and that would be to win the one here and then win a third one next year, to not be in the championship game. If I'm picking someone besides the Chiefs, it's the Bills. I think the Bills right now are the best team other than the Chiefs in the AFC right now. So unless the Chiefs can go 3 straight, which no one's ever done before, I think the Bills have a good shot next year to be contenders. I'm not saying that they're going to beat the Chiefs or they're going to win it all, but they have the ability to be contenders for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I want to flip the script to the Chiefs a little bit now. I mean, again, like I addressed a little bit last topic, but I mean, the Chiefs were doubted. Many people were doubting the Chiefs. Oh, the Bills are hot. They won 11 of 12 games. Josh Allen looks like the best quarterback in the league. Then you have that their wins were ugly. Then I don't know if he's healthy. Did he have a concussion? What's good with his toe? And Mahomes put them to bed. It was 9-0. Hardman muffed the punt, and then the rest is history. Mahomes just absolutely took over that game single-handedly. So with that being said, after people tried to doubt him, is it just simply safe to say Patrick Mahomes is head and heels above his competition, that there's no other quarterback in the league who's his rival? It's just him and everybody else. What are your thoughts on that?
100% agree there. If we're talking about teams that can beat the Kansas City Chiefs, the Bucks, teams with good defenses can give the Chiefs trouble. If we're talking about Patrick Mahomes specifically, there is no more talented. There's no quarterback more talented and better than Mahomes at this point in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes, what he can do on the football field when he's not healthy, when he's thrown off his back foot, whatever it is that he's going to do in between the white lines, he's going to be good at it. And that puts the Kansas City Chiefs as a team as one of the best teams in the NFL. But as just speaking of Mahomes specifically, there's no one. Is there anyone better than him? I got to say no.
Right now in the NFL, no, right? But he's got so much around him. Yeah, and right now I think, Patrick Mahomes is the only one that is just like so far above everyone right now. But here's what I really want to say. And, let's take a look at the future here, right? Right now the Kansas City Chiefs are not paying him much, right? His contract starts in 2 years, I believe. I want to see what happens when he starts getting the big money. The cap gets tight. They got to cut a couple players. You have some more young guys. Travis Kelce gets old, right? Stuff like that. That's what I want to see. Like, the thing for me with Patrick Mahomes, I know he'll be solidified as like a top 3 quarterback in NFL history when time tells that the Chiefs can't have as much around him. Because, again, right now, they're not paying him much. But for right now, in 2021, as we sit here in January, he is definitely head and heels above the competition.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think the main thing that makes him different than everybody else, too, is the off-schedule plays. Mahomes, when he drops back to pass, they got a great offense. They got great players. But when he's rolling out and he's trying to find that guy down the field that has broken his route and he can't find anybody open, Mahomes is the best at that. And it's not about, running the ball like Lamar Jackson or, Deshaun Watson's. He rolls out to throw the ball. His players know when to find him. And I think that would make him different than everybody else. Because we had this argument in a group of friends of mine, and we were talking about best offense ever. And they were talking about the Chiefs' offense, best offense ever. I disagree. I think that Patrick Mahomes makes it the best offense because he can do those plays off schedule where, going back to the Rams back in the day with Kurt Warner, that was to me the best offense because it was beautiful to watch. The talent was everywhere. Everything was on schedule, beautiful. Whereas Patrick Mahomes, I think when you see him making those plays outside the pocket, that's not play calling. That's Patrick Mahomes making the play. It's a different thing. So to me, I think Mahomes is so much better than everybody else in the league right now, and he is the reason the Chiefs are good. Because you look at talent-wise, I mean, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and then what? You know what I mean? You have average players. Sammy Watkins is average. CEH, the rookie, wasn't great this year. The running game wasn't great this year. There are more talented teams in the NFL, but they don't have Patrick Mahomes.
It's utterly ridiculous to think that there's any quarterback close to this guy. I mean, it's literally him and everybody else. People tried to make the assumption Aaron Rodgers was better than him because he had a better regular season. People chose a few Tom Brady lovers still try to say Brady's better than him. No, it's Mahomes and everybody else. There's like 2 guys in the NFL, maybe it's just one in 2020, who literally just has another gear that they flip a switch and it's like, I'm a new guy, and you have no chance of winning. Patrick Mahomes literally has another gear to flip a switch and just completely dominate his opponent. Like Jeff said, Andy Reid's a great play caller. I mean, some of the creativity in their play calling is absolutely fantastic. But the way he extends plays, that's on him. He's probably the best at extending plays I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes watching football for over the past 15 years. The way he can extend plays and get receivers open, not only by extending plays, but the way he looks off DBs. We see him look off a safety, look off a DB, and throw the other side, which gets his receivers open. Sure, Tyreek Hill is one of the fastest human beings in the world. I get that. Travis Kelce's the best tight end in football. I get that. But if you look at their numbers with Alex Smith, versus what happened when Mahomes took over, it's night and day. And they become what they are because of him. I'm not going to say that they're a product of Patrick Mahomes because they are just fantastic. But to say that it's just because the Chiefs are so great offensively is why Mahomes is great is ridiculous. The only thing that scares me about this Chiefs team is their defense, which we'll talk about when we do a little Super Bowl preview next topic. But the thing is, Mahomes is just uncomparable to anybody else in this league. Like, he really just shows when he needs to put it onto another gear that there's just no one who could touch him. I always make a Madden analogy when I talk about Patrick Mahomes. I always say when you're a Madden player and you play on Pro or All Pro, whatever you may play on, and then sometimes you think you're good enough to play it on All Madden. You play on All Madden, you struggle a little bit, or late in the game it's getting close and you don't want to lose. So what do? You go in settings and you put the difficulty down to rookie so you could just tear apart the defense. That's what Mahomes does when he flips a gear. When it looks like he's struggling and playing against an all-Madden team, he goes on settings, puts difficulty down to rookie, and absolutely annihilates them. That's what he did on Sunday when they were down 9-0. That's other times this season when it looked like the Chiefs were going to lose, and he all of a sudden just flips another gear. That's the way I compare Patrick Mahomes, and again, nobody can compare it to him. But on that note, I want to talk about a little Super Bowl 55 preview. The Chiefs and the Bucks, who do you got and why?
Yeah, so I'll start us off here, right? Super Bowl 55, it's going to be fun, right? The first home team to ever play in front of their home crowd. And I guess the sad part is that all of their home crowd won't be there. Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, I believe the last time these two guys faced off was in the regular season. Kansas City the whole time, they really outplayed Tampa. Tyreek Hill went off that game. And for that reason, I'm going with the Chiefs. I think right now they're going to go 2 in a row, right? Back-to-back championships. Right now, Tampa, their defensive line was great, but the Chiefs are just something else. I really can't go against Patrick Mahomes. It's really hard to do that. You know, they keep winning games. They keep putting up numbers. And again, go look at the stats for Tyreek Hill against Tampa that one game. I don't have him here in front of me, but I believe he had 200 some odd yards.
269, I believe it was.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
What Kansas City's doing is amazing. And back-to-back, they go, and Tom Brady becomes the first quarterback to lose a Super Bowl in front of his home crowd.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to know. I'm going to go with the Chiefs here as well. However, I wouldn't be shocked if the Buccaneers would come away with this win because I think the two X factors in this game is can Tom Brady play better than he just played this past weekend against Green Bay? And the other one is can this Tampa Bay defense disrupt Patrick Mahomes enough that they make it a game? Those are the two X factors for me. How I think this is going to go out is that Patrick Mahomes is going to do enough as the most talented quarterback in football right now to be able to get past this Buccaneers defense with the weapons that he has. Their defense is going to do enough to be able to stop Tom Brady on his offensive side of the ball. I got to say the Chiefs take this, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bucs come away with a win.
Yeah, I'm going Chiefs here as well. And also I'm looking at the last two Super Bowls here. So we had the Patriots, Rams game was 13-3. Last year, basically 10 close to the game, 31-10. I'm betting the over on this game. I think it's 56 right now. It's going to be an extremely high scoring game. And I think the Chiefs, it benefits the Chiefs in that sense. I think they're built more for the high scoring games. If Tom Brady has to beat the Chiefs with his arm, it's not going to happen. If he throws 3 the way he did against the Packers, the Chiefs will blow them out. So I do think it'll be a very, very high scoring game, which favors the Chiefs. And I think the Chiefs do take this game. I think it'll be close. It'll come down to 3 or 4 points at the end of the game. I think, the Bucs have a chance to win, but I think the Chiefs find a way to pull it out.
I'm a very, 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 very big supporter of Patrick Mahomes. My gut does say the Buccaneers will win this game, and it's nothing about the quarterback matchup. Mahomes is head over heels right now better than Tom Brady. I really don't think it's particularly close whatsoever. I know I'm going to get out of Mahomes. They are going against a top 5 defense, and the Chiefs defense is pretty bad, is really bad actually. Their run defense is atrocious. I just don't trust their defense whatsoever. I always tell people, there's one way to beat this Chiefs team. But unfortunately, they're really good at this. And it's beat them in a shootout. But the reason why I like the Bucs to be able to beat them in a shootout, which again, I do think it'll be a high-scoring game. I would take the over at 56.5. No question about it. The thing is, I trust the Bucs defense way more than I trust that Chiefs defense. Brady really shows to be an elite quarterback. When he takes advantage over bad defenses, he absolutely picks them apart and eats them alive. And that Chiefs defense is just terrible. I do not trust them whatsoever to make stops when you need them to, because you're going to need to rely on that defense to make stops. They have been starting to look like that 2018 defense when they're 31st in the league, even though Mahomes won MVP, thrown for 50 touchdowns, and they lost in the AFC title game to Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. I'm afraid that's going to happen again for the Super Bowl. and that's ultimately why I'm picking the Bucks. I'm a big believer defense wins championships as long as you have a quarterback you could trust, and in this situation you have 2 quarterbacks that you can trust. I mean, Brady's going for it all, going for that number 7. That would be a special title. And Mahomes, he's trying to catch him. I believe Patrick Mahomes, from a talent perspective, already is the best we've ever seen in the history of football. Nobody does the things that guy could do. But in terms of him trying to catch Brady legacy-wise, we know that's going to be the MVPs, the longevity, and of course what matters most in most people's eyes is the Super Bowl championships. And this is an opportunity for him to do that. My gut just says the Buccaneers are going to win this game. What are your thoughts on that?
The Chiefs' best defense is their offense. I think they put so much pressure on you to have to score. I mean, we've seen it all year. I think it was the Rams game. The Rams went for it on a 4th down in the first quarter. Not because they had to, but because they needed to keep up with the Chiefs' offense. And I think sometimes we forget that. When you're down, 14 points, 20 points to a Chiefs team, that's their defense is ready to feast. And if they can get the Bucs down at any point in this game where they feel they have to go for it on 4th down or take chances they wouldn't have to take, that's when the defense is going to step up and kind of make a big play or something to that effect. Because I think that the Chiefs' offense is their defense, really.
Yeah, and for some reason, something's telling me here, and I feel like nobody in the room feels it, but I do. I feel a blowout here. I do. I really feel like Kansas City might come in and just like shell shock Tampa. Do I want that to happen? Hell no. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope my gut is wrong. But something's itching at me, like saying, "Hey, man, I don't know if Tampa can just like come in and keep up with Patty Mahomes. Maybe, I don't know. Things happen, nerves happen. The team just doesn't show up to play, and Kansas City just like rolls out and blows them out. I would hope not, because again, Tom Brady. I'm thinking back to those 3 interceptions he threw against Green Bay. I think he threw one of them off his back foot. It like lingered in the air for about maybe a minute. It was so bad, and I just don't think that he can really keep up with Mahomes in a shootout, like Jeff mentioned earlier. Right? I mean, I hope I'm wrong on this here, and I hope it's a really close game. I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa won, but right now, man, like Kansas City, I just can't go against them. I can't do it. I can't.
I get not going against Kansas City, but the worst point you had in that was trying to say nerves. Tom Brady and nerves should never be said in the same sentence. And I'm not a Tom Brady supporter, but Tom Brady and nerves, he's had every scrutiny on him, every high-pressure situation he's had on. And right now, he's playing with house money. He has nothing to prove. This does not mean anything for his legacy. He can only gain. He has literally nothing to lose. And some may say, oh, well, he literally has a Super Bowl to lose. Sure, of course. But in terms of his legacy, he's already exceeded expectations. His regular season already exceeded expectations. Them making it to the NFC Championship exceeded expectations. Them winning the NFC Championship game exceeded expectations. So making the Super Bowl now, there is nothing he has to worry about. There is zero pressure on him. And he's especially just being a guy who is more experienced than anybody in the history of football on this stage. We're so used to seeing him in the Super Bowl. Basically, I've seen him my whole life playing the Super Bowl year after year after year. So in terms of nerves and pressure, no. But the Bucs defense, if they could put pressure on Mahomes, which he does very well against pressure. I mean, there's no way to stop Mahomes. I know what I'm getting out of Mahomes. I just don't know what I'm getting out of that defense. And that defense is awful. And when you have a bad defense, I really can't trust you to win any game in this league, honestly.
I think the nerves thing comes down to the guys around Tom Brady. I mean, Chris Godwin's had some pretty big drops this year in the playoffs, and his nerves are obviously getting to him. Now he's on the biggest stage. What if there is that, key 3rd down conversion? Brady goes to Chris Godwin, drops the pass. I mean, those kind of things can happen. I think Brady instills leadership, and he can kind of calm those guys down. Definitely, I think he will be the steadying force there. But when he gets down to the 4th quarter, if it's close, I'm a little nervous for some of those guys on that Bucs side who haven't been in the playoffs in 13, 14 years, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Hardman who muffed the punt. You could say, what is that, nerves too? I mean, the nerves part is coming into the quarterback play, which in terms of both quarterbacks, these are the 2 most clutch players in the league. So I mean, I wouldn't talk about nerves here.
I think the important thing to remember is that the only 2 guys on Tampa right now that has Super Bowl experience and that I can really think of off the top of my head, Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski. Mike Evans has never been here. He's never been here. Chris Godwin, he's never been there. Bruce Arians, I believe this is first Super Bowl he's coaching. I'm not saying that it's really huge, but it's something to really think about and mention. I don't think Tom Brady is nervous, but guys like Mike Evans, Leonard Fournette, the younger crowd, maybe it gets to him.
I mean, even on the defense side of the ball as well, Devin White, Antoine Winfield, Carlton, these guys are extremely talented, but they've also never been in this position before. And I think I agree with you here. Nerves do play a factor, not in the quarterback position, because both these guys have already been. Brady's been there plenty of times. He doesn't need to worry about that. Mahomes has already done it. But this Kansas City Chiefs team just did it last year, and they just got to an AFC Championship game the year before that. So if I'm looking at nerves, Tom Brady can say whatever he wants to his team to say, hey guys, I've been here before. You don't got to worry about it. Let's just play our game. You don't got to worry about it, whatever. But nerves are still going to be at least a little bit of a factor, especially when when Kansas City was just there the year before.
Yeah, and I can think of like a lot of teams who are like who've never been here before. It's different because you have Tom Brady on Tampa, right? But think of the Panthers way back when, Super Bowl 50, or maybe the Atlanta Falcons, right? Things like that.
Extremely talented teams that just nerves definitely had to have played a factor. Matt Ryan, one of the best quarterbacks, he won the MVP that year, but couldn't get it done when it counted. And now look what we're seeing with Atlanta.
Sometimes you leave your talent at home,
I mean, sure, you could look at that. There's going to be pressure for other guys. I mean, I'm just not banking on that. I'm not. I mean, if it happens, it happens. Then I'll be proved wrong. But I'm not going to say that there's going to be a whole lot of pressure of why guys will fail or something amongst those lines. But I mean, I just think, again, this is coming down to defense. And whose defense do you trust more? I think that's the Buccaneers. They've shown they can put pressure on quarterbacks, which even though Mahomes extends plays really well. And it's hard to beat Tom Brady twice in a year. The Chiefs already beat them. I don't know if they could do it again. It's really hard to do. And again, it's really hard to beat the Chiefs. I think we're in for a fun one. It's just like we got the rising GOAT versus the GOAT right now. I mean, this is like an historic and iconic Super Bowl matchup that we'll remember for years and years and years down the road. That's why I'm so excited about this. But, I mean, overall, again, it's exciting. We got it in 2 weeks, but that's going to wrap up the NFL today. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. But one more topic before we wrap up, and I want to talk some NBA quick. LeBron, Raymond, James. LeBron was in his bag last night. 46, 8-6 against his former team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, playing in Quicken Loans Arena for the first time since November of 2018, I believe it was. What he did yesterday was disgusting. He dropped 17 in the first quarter. He dropped 21 in the fourth quarter after he missed a third quarter buzzer beater, and someone chirped at him. And one of my favorite quotes of all time, don't poke the bear. The bear always bites back. 21 points in the fourth quarter, 9 of 10 shooting, and some of the shots he made were ridiculous. Like it got like it was like he was toying out there. It's like I can't even do this in 2K, and I'm a pretty decent 2K player. But with that being said, is LeBron James in position to win his 5th MVP in year 18?
I gotta say yes. There are a lot of guys who have been putting up some great numbers. Joel Embiid is having a monster year so far. Nikola Jokic could become the first center to average a triple-double in NBA history. But from what we've seen over the last couple of years in the NBA, the guys who are voting on the MVP love the stories. They love the guys who are making an impact. And there's only 2 guys that I can say that are head and shoulders above the rest, and that's LeBron and Giannis Antetokounmpo, because those guys are just doing things that we don't see every day on the basketball court. And for me, about the MVP in the regular season, I don't even think it matters. For LeBron specifically, I don't think he cares about getting his 5th MVP. If he doesn't get it, cool. If someone else gets it, that's fine. Because in all honesty, I'm sure he cares much more about getting an NBA championship than he does about getting a regular season MVP. But do I think he's in position to win the regular season MVP this year? I think so. I think he's been playing some incredible basketball. We just saw it last night against Cleveland. I think he's only going to go up from here.
Yeah, I think he's definitely the leader. I mean, honestly, he should have gotten his 5th last year. I mean, when we're being honest about it, you look at his stats, I think he should have gotten last year. I know that it was sort of the Antetokounmpo show last year, but it was LeBron James for me. The only guy I would throw into the mix that he did already mention is Luka Doncic. He's been playing amazing basketball as well. Unfortunately, his team is not as good as the Lakers are right now, so he's not getting quite as much pub. But he'd be second for me right now in MVP. But it's LeBron James right now. If it continues this way the rest of the season, especially with the condensed season, and he's an older guy. I mean, he's his late 30s now. He's playing at this level. He's the MVP hands down for sure.
I feel like right now in the room it's kind of unanimous for LeBron. I'm still waiting on Falco up there. But, look, a guy who's 37 years old should not be playing that way. Should not. Like, he's like a scientific thing created in a lab, man. What he did against Cleveland was incredible. And he's kind of been doing it all year, right? Obviously not like that against the Cavaliers, but he's been so dominant. And even in the bubble, he was dominant. And, I would love for LeBron to take a fall, because I do like Michael Jordan. But let me just say, man, LeBron just keeps proving me wrong. He does it over and over again. And that's why, I just have to give him the respect he deserves, man. He keeps playing ball. He keeps scoring points. If he keeps playing the way he does, he definitely deserves that MVP.
Can he? Yes. Do I actually think he will? Probably not. Can I say he's in the favorite right now? Sure. Here's the thing with the MVP. The MVP is so media driven, and there's so many narratives behind it to actually give that award. LeBron had a thing called voter fatigue, which why after he won his fourth one in 2013, 4 and 5 years when he won MVP, it's going to be very hard for him to win another one because, again, the media loves Michael Jordan, so they really don't want him to tie Jordan. And any other player who has a breakout season or a career year that's an MVP caliber season, they will always get it over LeBron to mix it up to guys, and again, to avoid LeBron getting that 5th MVP trophy. I'm very convinced the media does not want LeBron to tie Jordan because that's their hero. That is their beloved trust fund baby hero in Michael Jeffrey Jordan. The thing here is it's actually a time where he can win it, and he has a narrative behind him. A few things. Giannis Antetokounmpo, people just thought he was going to keep racking up those MVP stats in the regular season, which right now the Bucks are 10-6. He's not doing what he did last year, and he has the voter fatigue now on his side because to win third MVP, which would be the first time since Larry Bird, the only players in NBA history to win 3 consecutive MVP awards. So LeBron has a very good chance to do that as long as nobody else has a career breakout year. Because if anyone else has a career breakout year, they will get it over LeBron just like that. But a few narratives where he actually has the luxury to do that. First of all, he's played every game this season, which people did not expect that. A 72-day offseason after all the circumstances we dealt with last year with Corona, the bubble, this and that. Wins Finals MVP, 72 days off. Plays every single game right now, averaging somewhere around his usuals is 24, 25, 7-7. And his team has the best record in the NBA, which we know the media loves to give it to a guy with the best record in the league, which the Lakers do right now. So if LeBron plays close to 72 games, his numbers stay the same, the Lakers have the number 1 seed or best record in the NBA, that will be an opportunity to give it to him, especially with the year 18 narrative, that he has that behind him and can help him win it. If Luka has a breakout year with stats and they finish top 4, then Luka's just going to get it. I think Steph Curry and Luka have just a better chance, narrative-wise, to get it because their teams aren't as good. They have more responsibilities. And if they get in that 4 seed range, they're going to win the award. So with that being said, that's why it's hard for me to actually think LeBron will hoist his 5th MVP. Is he the favorite right now? Sure. Can he? Sure. Is he in position? Sure. But will he actually win it? It's really hard for me to say right now, but his performance yesterday was that was stupid. What he did he tortured them. But that's why it's hard for me to say that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I got to agree with you 100% here. The MVP is such a media-driven thing. It's all about what's going on in the present. We saw when Russell Westbrook averaged the triple-double, how did that postseason end up for him? He lost in the first round. For James Harden the next year, same thing. For Giannis, he hasn't gotten to a Eastern Conference championship. So when we're talking about who's the MVP versus who puts up the best stats, that's the real argument for the MVP. And I like what you said about voter fatigue because that's definitely the case for LeBron. And if we're going to talk about Luka, if he puts up stats, he's probably going to win MVP. Steph, we haven't seen him win the MVP in a few years. It's really good to see him back. He's been balling out for sure. I'm not going to say he's not in contention because he definitely is, but his team's not playing well. So for me, the MVP has to be a combination of how well your team's doing how well you are in relation to how good your team is. And then if you can carry your team into the postseason, and we're going to see that LeBron has always carried his team well in the postseason. This Lakers team is going to be really good. And yeah, he's not going to put up 35-8, 35-8-5, or whatever you want to say. He's going to put up 25, 26 points, 6 or 7 rebounds, 6 or 7 assists. And that's, for me, is good enough for him to win the MVP. But do I think he's actually going to get to it? Like you said, I don't think so.
Yeah, like it's fun to talk about the MVP race now, but I still think it is a little too early, right? I always say time will tell. Let's be a little patient here. A lot of guys can flame out. Who knows? Maybe Luka will flame out. Do I think he will? No. Maybe Steph, he'll flame out. You never know. A lot of guys flame out, and then who knows? Maybe a guy just comes out of nowhere and takes that race. And it's all about the story. It is all about the story. And if Nikola Jokic can be the first center to win the triple-double, that's a tough argument against LeBron James winning the MVP, because he's a big man, he's European, right? Stuff like that. It would be different, because when's the last time we saw a European big man win the MVP? It's been a while, right? So time will tell, and overall, like, we just have to see in like the next couple of months. But yeah, right now he definitely is the favorite.
Yeah, I think right now he is the favorite, and you're right. The narrative can change, and we've seen it. I mean, in the NFL, the first half it was Russell Wilson, and he kind of fell off a little bit towards the end, so he didn't get even into the conversation at the end. And that could happen with LeBron too. I mean, it is a lot of games. There's a lot fewer days in between. It's a very conjuncted season, so maybe LeBron starts to ease back a little bit, and he falls out of the race. But if we're ending the season right now and naming an MVP right now, it's LeBron James for sure.
I mean, yeah, the only way LeBron will actually be awarded this award is if no other player has a career breakout year. If Jokic does average a triple-double, then Jokic is ahead of LeBron. If Steph averages close to 30 points a game and the Warriors have a 4 seed, then Steph's automatically can get it no matter what LeBron does. Same thing with Luka. If he averages to a 30-point triple-double, which he probably will, and Porzingis is out, and they get a top 4 seed, then he's going to get it. That's why the only way LeBron gets this is if someone else does not have a breakout season. Because that's how it is every single year. LeBron's finished top 2 in the MVP race now 8 times. So it's like he's been there before, and narratives always play a big part in this. And again, I don't think the media wants to give him the fifth to tie their trust fund baby and idol in Michael Jordan. I don't. What do you think about that?
It's funny because I've always thought that LeBron has been the trust fund baby, maybe for just ESPN, because everywhere you go on ESPN, they've got this like ridiculous stat about LeBron James. And Jordan definitely is caught up by the media as well. But I've always thought that it's been LeBron who's been more the media mogul, golden boy. I don't know how you feel about that, Brandon, but I've always been perceived that it's been LeBron James this, LeBron James that.
I think we can kind of compare it to. I mean, look, there's only 2 basketball players in the world that are as good as they are. Michael Jordan and LeBron James are so much better than all of the other players that we've seen in the league, and we can make the case for Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, all these guys are great, but there's no one better than Michael Jordan and LeBron James. And so I think that's automatically going to receive a ton of media attention, especially right now because, LeBron's 37, 38 years old and doing what he's doing in his 18th season. So that's definitely something to look at, but I don't think it's anything to say, hey, he's a trust fund, because these guys are going to be compared for the rest of time in basketball.
For a long time, and it's going to be like this for a while, it's going to be the old boomers with Michael Jordan and then the new school kids for LeBron James. And that's always what it comes back to. The guys with the white hair versus the guys with, your pop sockets on the back of the iPhone saying LeBron James this, LeBron that. It's because one generation was alive for both, one generation was alive for one.
The thing is, the media likes LeBron. The media loves Michael Jordan. That's the biggest difference, if you're going to ask me. That's what you're going to ask me. But we're running out of time now. Any last thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, I do want to say, Super Bowl 55 is coming soon. I hope it comes out to be a great game, man. I can't wait. We can talk about it all we want. We can talk defense this, stats that, but nothing is going to happen until 6:30. And when that kickoff starts, everything can change. And that's what I love about the Super Bowl. You can say it's going to be the best game ever, and then it blows up in your face like Super Bowl 50 or Super Bowl 53 with the Rams and the Patriots. we won't know, but I'm excited to find out.
There's no better sporting event than the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it just to kind of build on that too, it's going to be a different Super Bowl than we've ever had before with this whole COVID pandemic. Even the media week is going to be all virtual. They're not allowing the Chiefs to even get to Tampa Bay until a few days before, so it's gonna be like a typical road game where usually they're there a week ahead of time. So it'll be a whole different scenario, but I do think it's the biggest event, and I think it's gonna be an awesome event, and I can't wait for it to happen.
I can't wait. It's an exciting one. The rising GOAT, who I will pick to be the future GOAT, versus the current GOAT and Tom Brady. I mean, this is going to be an iconic Super Bowl. I think we're in for a fun one. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm a big Patrick Mahomes supporter. I mean, I'm rooting for the Chiefs in this one, but it's really hard to bet against Tom Brady. But with that, I want to thank you guys for joining me. Had a ton of fun. You're always welcome back on. But if you guys want to shout out your platforms quick, if you have any podcasts or anything.
Yeah, go ahead and follow us on Instagram and on Twitter. Our handles on Instagram is at Official Takes on Tap. On Twitter, it's at the Takes on Tap Show. We have a podcast that we film. It comes out every Thursday. We talk sports, NBA, MLB, NFL, whatever is like really relevant at the time, biggest topic, stuff like that. And if you DM us or mention us or something, we will answer your question on our show. We have a segment. It's called, Fan Questions. Whatever you want to talk about, we'll talk about it. We'll give you a shout out, things like that. Takes on Tap, baby. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thanks a ton.
Thanks a lot for having me on again. This was a lot of fun. And you can follow me on Twitter at Jeff Lambert77. It's Jeff spelled Geoff. The website's goingfor2.com. We do mostly fantasy football mainly. We got 30 plus writers on staff covering everything from dynasty to redrafts. And then we have a podcast network. We got about 7 or 8 shows, live shows that come up on the Going for 2 live network, which you can find on YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, all the live platforms. Just search for Going for 2 live and you can find all that stuff there.
Thanks again, guys, for joining me. And if you haven't already, I'm the Falco Takeaway, and you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And I am evolving on TikTok. I'm getting growing some fans on TikTok. Love rebuttaling people's stuff. Make sure you check me out there. But again, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Always welcome back on. This is a lot of fun.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.